Welcome, everybody, to another edition of WCW 1994, as it's the night after Spring Stampede. Well, not the night after, but the show after Spring Stampede, as we're now heading towards Slamboree, and it's time for the first taping of Saturday Night, live from the Cincinnati Gardens in beautiful Cincinnati, Ohio. So let's get rolling with the actual show, as Saturday Night starts out with basically, your photos from a Spring Stampede, highlighting, Bret Hart getting the victory over Davey Boy Smith, and Rick Rude capturing the WCW Championship. Announcers put over both big matches and, other stuff that's happened on the show. And then we go to the ring for our first match of the evening. As this gets a 74. Solid opening as just, as you would do in the, old days before, when you still had to sell extra pay-per-views and you didn't want to show video right away. As this gets a 74. And then we go to our actual match. As in a decent match, Jacques Rougeau makes his way to the ring, defeating Van Hammer in 707 by submission with a Quebec Crab. Rougeau makes defense number 4 of his World Television title. Remember, he was injured, and so he couldn't defend the title for a few weeks. But Rougeau gets a 67 here. Van Hammer gets a 42, and a straightforward win for Rougeau as he gets the big victory. And then he cuts a quick promo, saying he is glad to be back in the ring so he can show all the fans of WCW why Quebec is the greatest wrestling nation on the planet, and why he will continue to rule as television champion for as long as he wants. 60 solid promo, building up that heel cred. Then we have an interesting match as in a decent match, Eaton Benoit, who weren't on the pay-per-view, defeated Iceman King Parsons and Mike Graham in 7-10. When Chris Benoit submitted Mike Graham with a crippler crossface, this gets a 60. Benoit gets a 71. Eaton gets a 58. Parsons gets a 32. Graham gets a 36. The two jobbers did not work well together, but I don't really care about that. Just a quick, simple win for the two members of the Cross Atlantic Confederation. And then we move forward to a quick promo as they're in the ring, and Benoit, Eaton's, basically Benoit takes Mike, says, sooner or later, WCW officials will have to give us what we deserve, a match for the tag titles against whoever have them. We don't care about them, whether they're Horsemen or anybody else. We'll rip and tear and make them tap out. Regal's hitting the mic, says, you're really well right, Chris. But tonight, we will continue our rise up the rankings to be at the top of the World Championship Wrestling when, in the main event, I battle that supposed cowboy, Dustin Rhodes, and I will give him the beating that his father should have done long ago, and there will be nothing WCW can do except give me what I deserve after that match. 73, solid promo, as Regal and Benoit roll well, as, we put over the fact that, Regal's in the main event tonight versus Dustin Rhodes, and then Bob, Eaton and Benoit are, of course, also a fast-rising tag team. Then we move forward to the next thing, which is basically a quick little graphic that the new WCW champion, Rick Rude, will be here next week, and Jesse Ventura puts over the fact that he'll be the one interviewing him, getting the real scoops from Rude, as opposed to if you were doing it, Tony. Because of course that little fantastic relationship will continue, as this just gets us 67, because it's just a quick graphic. Then we move forward, as it's a Diamond Dallas Page promo package. So Page makes his debut here in WCW. Basically a year late because I just never signed him, because I forgot that he wasn't signed. He gets his People's Champion gimmick, which is great. And basically, he's coming in as a babyface, honestly, because I have way too many heels. So we're just putting over his, blue-collar background, how he, started training when he was, in his 30s, how we get a little quick inset thing from somebody like Sergeant Bradley Parker saying we didn't give him a chance, but he was here early every night, early every morning, staying late every night, and basically doing sort of the Rocky Balboa thing, he's old, he's an underdog, but also putting over he's that he's got into his fights, putting some sort of thing of him outside a nightclub with some good-looking ladies, etc., etc. Sort of putting over his cocky babyface underdog type of thing. As this gets a 55, and let's see here. Large boost of psychology. Oh, and he actually has a hot catchphrase. He says, so he can do the whole, good God, DDP is coming to WCW, and he's going to show everybody what he's got. Then, in a fun little match, Scott Steiner defeated One Man Gang in 736 by pinfall with the Steiner Screwdriver. Okay, if that happened in real life, that would be the gif everybody would use for Scott Steiner. Yeah, yikes. This gets a 71, Steiner gets a 53, One Man Gang gets a 44, largely because they didn't click, so just imagine some sort of stiff, sort of unprofessional match, ending with Steiner, doing a shoot Steiner Screwdriver on One Man Gang, because that would be something 1994 Scott Steiner would totally do. And then, post-match, Steiner did a quick promo to the camera, saying, Austin got lucky. Austin got lucky at Spring Stampede, but if he gets another shot, the US belt is going to be around his waist. So 67, solid promo. Then we have our first big promo of the night, as we have the whole, oops, wait, why, god damn it, okay, that should be Brian Pillman in the last spot. I have no idea why Steven Regal is there. That must be me doing a, oops, okay, well, not the end of the world. So let's just pretend Brian Pillman is here because he actually is an important part of the promo. Iron Horseman come down with Ventura. Ventura congratulates him on their two big wins at Spring Stampede. Arn and Barry are two of the best tag team wrestlers in the world, and it's only right that now have the tag titles. And of course, Austin had an impressive victory over Scott Steiner. And Austin takes the mic first and says, "Yeah, I heard Steiner whine here, and look, son, I'll kick your ass again if it comes to it, but you're gonna have to earn another title shot. I just don't give these out like candy." And then Arn takes the mic, says, "You see, yes, at Spring Stampede, we proved what is always true. The Iron Horsemen are the elite force in professional wrestling today. Whether it's in the tag team or singles sphere, we will dominate because we have the skills, we have the background, we have the pure talent that cannot be denied by anybody. And even when we don't quite make it, like Pillman, we still put up a hell of a fight against a great wrestler like Sting." Pillman's like, "Yes," but Pillman is like sort of loose cannon. He says, "Yeah, I had Sting right there, and 3 little seconds I could have had an NWA title, and that's why it's BS that I'm not in the main event tonight. WCW should be sitting back on the ring to take apart either Pillman or Regal. Either Rhodes or Regal. Rhodes, that's SOB, who wouldn't even be here if he wasn't Dusty's son. Or Regal, yes, you're some British brawler or whatever, but I deserve to be in the main event. I don't care. Because the future belongs to me in WCW. 71, decent promo, not the best thing here, but not the worst thing either. Then we have an actually shockingly good match, as in a bout that had good heat and decent wrestling. Ted DiBiase defeated Shane Douglas in 8-19 by pinfall with a diving back elbow drop. It was a pile driver, let's be honest here. This was a 71. DiBiase gets a 77. Shane Douglas gets a 43. And post-match to a 71. DiBiase just stuffed some money in Shane's mouth and then walked away to the boos of the crowd. Because, of course, that would be what Ted DiBiase would do. Then we have a little graphic announcing it was going to be Sid Vicious versus Tsunami next week for the main event of Saturday night after the inclusive finish to the big tag match at Spring Stampede. And that gets a 70. Then we have a Rockin Country backstage promo where they basically say, they're proud of what they've done so far in WCW, but they want to take the next step. And the next step is pretty simple. There's lots of talk about tag team greatness and great tag team wrestlers. Well, we're two great tag team wrestlers too. Marty's had success with their partners all over the world, and I grew up tag team wrestling with my brothers, and together we've been very successful. So it's only time for the next step to be taking on Arn Anderson and Barry Windham for the tag team titles. Pop for that, as that get a 60. And then in honestly a wacky 8-man tag, I did just make up some time. As announcers put them over, these are all 8 wrestlers looking for some momentum here in World Championship Wrestling. As in a decent match, Johnny B. Bad, JW Storm, and Scorpio and Simmons defeated Max Payne, Simone Savage, Vinny Vegas, and Scotty Flamingo in 9:37 when Too Cold Scorpio pinned Max Payne with the Scorpio Splash. This gets a 60, JW Storm gets a 61, Johnny B. Bad gets a 62, Ron Simmons gets a 76, Too Cold Scorpio gets a 61, Scotty Flamingo gets a 54, Vinny Vegas gets a 46, Simone Savage gets a 47, and Max Payne gets a 58. And then post-match, the babyfaces celebrate. Not nothing too fancy here, just a straightforward, win for the babyfaces to get them back some momentum that they might have lost after what happened at the pay-per-view, losing the tag team titles and everything else. And then we move forward to what's painted as a pay-per-view exclusive, where Missy Hyatt tries to catch up with Cactus Jack as he's leaving the arena. She asks him what he's going to do next. After being outside a couple times, Cactus Jack turns around and says, "Missy, I don't know. I just lost the thing that I was killing myself to get. So, yeah. I'm going to go home. I'm going to go to my wife and kids. Yes, Jack has wife and kids. Don't be surprised. And I'm going to think about my future here in wrestling. Bang, bang. And he says that sort of like softly, not fully, and then he just like walks away as Missy Hyatt says it looks surprised as that gets a 66. Now it's time for our main event, which gets a 79. Really good match as in about that great heat and good wrestling. Dustin Rhodes defeated Steven Regal in 1354 by pinfall with a running bulldog. This gets a 79. Dustin gets a 71. Steven Regal gets a 66. And yeah, just back and forth match. Regal does his technical wrestling. Rhodes fights back with his brawling suplexes. And Dustin Rhodes is just a little bit better. Hits the bulldog. 1, 2, 3. Big victory for Rhodes. But before he can even really celebrate the win, Brian Pillman comes in and just waylays Dustin from behind, just drills him. And then as Regal's getting up, Pillman also drills him with basically a running dropkick to the outside. And Pillman stands tall with both men on the outside, saying this should be me. This should be me in the main event. As this gets a 76. Again, good stuff. And then it's time for our final segment of the night. As Bret Hart comes down to the cheers of the crowd, says he's very proud to be here in World Championship Wrestling, and he's proud of the great match he and Davey Boy had at Spring Stampede. But now he's faced his cousin or brother-in-law, not cousin, and now he wants to move on to new business. Because you see here, he's the excellence of execution. He's the best there is. He's the best there was, and the best there ever will be. But there's another man in this company who likes to think of himself as the greatest, who likes to talk about his skills. And before Bret Hart can say anything else, woo! The Nature Boys music hit, and out comes Ric Flair. Flair comes down and says, for the last couple of months, I've been dealing with DiBiase. We've been fighting over our clothes, our money, our houses, and everything else. Even though we're both skilled wrestlers. But brother, you just said something very interesting. You said their best there is and their best there was. Well, here's the reality. Up north, yes, you beat me before for a world championship. But let's be honest here. We both know I was barely walking that day. I had a fever. My ear was screwed up. You never beat me, Bret, when I was at 100%. You never beat the man, so you don't get to call yourself the man. Bret fights back and says, "It is a part of pro wrestling is getting in that ring when you're at 100%. There have been plenty of nights when I'm at 100%. I didn't complain when I lost." Flair says, "I'm not complaining, I'm explaining." And Bret fights back, "Well, if that's true, if you want to truly prove who's the best there is and the best there was, why don't we just get in that ring and we'll determine who's the greatest?" Flair says, "I'm happy to do that, but the boys in the back won't let that happen right now. But in a few weeks, we're going to be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in front of a big crowd. So at Slamboree, you want to prove you're the man? Try and beat the man." Woo! So yeah, we basically have, and it'll be officially announced, on the Weekend TV, that yes, at Slamboree, it's going to be Bret the Hitman Hart versus Ric Flair. So this goes 96, because both these guys are awesome. And yeah, that finishes the show, which gets us an 81. So good stuff. And honestly, yeah, that's the reason why I put sort of like I don't want to say a B tier, but like a B plus tier main event, is I knew that Bret Flair segment would save things. So 81, really good show. And I'll be back in just a moment with the second half of the taping. And now it's time for the second show of the taping, as it's Saturday night. We were in front of 10,000 people in Cincinnati, Ohio. We started with, the graphic that it's Sid versus Tsunami in tonight's main event, which gets a 65, just a quick graphic, gets a pop, and then move forward backstage, where Road Warrior Hawk and Tsunami are backstage. They cut a promo, gets a 64. Basically, Tsunami says, he's here to take a wave of destruction to Sid Vicious, and, Sid's a tough man, but he's just a man. And he's got the power of the Ward Warrior behind him, and he's got the power of the waves to take Sid out. And Hawk steps in and says, "Oh, what a rush!" So decent little promo to set up, that little big main event, which gets a 64. Then we have our opening match as Rockin Country try to play air guitar with Hammer and Storm, and instead Hammer and Storm just begin fighting with them, which gets a 45. It's time for the actual match. As in a decent match, Rockin Country, Marty Jannetty, and Brad Armstrong defeat Van Hammer and JW Storm in 8:34. When Brad Armstrong pinned Van Hammer with the side Russian leg sweep, this gets a 50. JW Storm gets a 60. Van Hammer gets a 39. Brad Armstrong gets a 55, and Marty Jannetty gets a 63. And post match, like I said, the match gets a 50. Rockin Country celebrates as they get a 51. A censors put over. This is another big win for Rockin Country as they angle for a world tag title shot. Then we have another DDP promo package, focusing, on his, on his past that, he broke in wrestling as a manager, but all the time, he was a promoter, he was doing everything, but he became more focused on professional wrestling, and he's going to do what, and he realizes this is a long shot for him, but long shots have paid off for him before. Good God. So let's get to 69. Decent, good stuff. Decent promo package, and then we move forward to our next match, which is Ron Simmons destroying the Gambler in 424 with the Spine Buster. So, Simmons just drops him, big power slam, big spine buster, big just throwing Gambler all over. Impressive victory for Simmons as a 66. Ron Simmons gets a 78. Gambler gets a 37. Honestly, I'm probably under pushing Simmons at the second. He should probably be in a world, up in the US / world title level, but which gives me some ideas for the rest of the year. Anyway, this gets a 66. And post-match, Simmons and Two Colds raise the roof to also a 66. So, good stuff. Then we have the Slamboree Control Center, where we got Missy Hyatt going over, so far the two big announced matches, as is Ric Flair versus Bret Hart, and what is now determined to be a number one contenders match, and Sting versus Rick Rude to determine a unified world champion. Little thing, this gets an 83, and we also put that WCW officials have also announced officially that at Slamboree, Scott Steiner will get one more shot against Steve Austin for the United States Championship. That. Then we have a Bret Hart promo, and he says ever since last week, he's had friends, family, total strangers come up to him and tell him that this is the match they've been waiting for all their life. Bret Hart versus Ric Flair in World Championship Wrestling to truly prove who is the greatest wrestler on the planet. But there's something more important about this match. As you just saw announced, it's for the number one contendership. And he came here not to win dream matches, not to fight old battles, but to become the unified World Heavyweight Championship. And whether he has to face Rick Rude or Sting for that title, that's inconsequential to him because he is the excellence of execution. And after Slamboree, there will be no question he is the best there is, their best there was, and their best there ever will be, whether Ric Flair is going to be happy about it or not. So again, good promo for Bret Hart as this gets an 81. And we move forward to About That Good Heat in Decent Wrestling. Johnny B. Bad defeats Scotty Flamingo in 10:30 by pinfall with Wild Thing. This gets a 66. Vinny Vegas is at ringside, but Bad basically hits Flamingo with his finisher quick enough that it's right in the middle ring, and Vegas can't do anything. As Bad gets a 63, Flamingo gets a 54. As this gets a 66 overall, like I said. But of course, Vegas is there. So afterwards, it's a 2-on-1 beatdown as Vegas just wallops Bad. Flamingo hits his DDT. Then Flamingo hits his Snake Eyes and leaves Bad laying as we get a 65. As the crowd boos, as Vegas Flamingo try to get some sort of, momentum again going. And they get the momentum, in part, it looks like, by going after John P. Bad. So a big win as this gets a 65. Then we have an About That Good Heat and Decent Wrestling. Ted DiBiase defeats Marcus Bagwell in 10:16 by submission with a Cobra Clutch. Don't call it a $1 million dream. Don't you dare call it a $1 million dream because WAF lawyers will be on our ass. But we can call it a Cobra Clutch as this gets a... Well, okay, we actually wouldn't call it a Cobra Clutch either because Slaughter finishes the Cobra Clutch, so we would call it... God dang it. I need to figure out a name for it. Okay. They just call it a modified sleeper for the moment, as this gets a 67, DiBiase gets a 78, Bagwell gets a 44. And yeah, Bagwell gets a little bit of a babyface comeback, but at the end of the day, it's Ted DiBiase and it's Marcus Bagwell, so DiBiase gets the win. And, Oh, right, because Bagwell got crumbled ribs. So we are just going to go to this. We're still going to do the gimmick. We're just not going to have Bagwell as part of it. So, so then DiBiase goes to stuff some money in Bagwell's mouth as he's on his injured on the with some broken ribs, but we are not going to know that until after the match. And it looks like he's going to do it when Steamboat comes out and sort of like confronts DiBiase about doing this, saying, if he wants to face some real competition, stop going after these young kids just trying to make it here in the business. Go after a man like him. DiBiase finds, everybody has a price, even a goody two shoes like you, Steamboat. So the price you might have to pay is your own career. And then DiBiase walks away as that gets a 74. So again, we move forward a little bit longer. It's time for Vader and Sid backstage. Sid says he is the master and ruler of the world. And after tonight, the stain on our records that was Spring Stampede will be wiped off as we take apart Tsunami and prove he's nothing but a wave in a kiddie pool. Vader says he's the man. After we take apart Tsunami and Roller Hawk, no one can stop us from getting our destiny. 72, solid promo. Sid gets over. There we go. And then we have sort of our big thing, which gets an 83, which I guess makes sense because I actually rated Ventura and Sherry Martel. So, Ventura welcomes out Rude, and with Martel on his arm, Rude has the WCW championship, around his waist, around his very, tiny waist because his recruit is very shredded waist. And, basically, Ventura, congratulates Rude, and, that he's happy that the world champion is around the waist of somebody who actually looks like he should be a champion. Rude says, yes, it's true. It's impressive now to have a world champion walking around who looks like how world championship looked like. Cactus Jack was a hell of a fighter, but that's all he was. He was a fighter. He was not a champion. He was not an elite professional wrestler like I am. And that's why, yes, tonight I am the WCW heavyweight champion. But after Slamboree, when I take care of that face painted punk Sting once and for all, I will be the unified world champion, and there will be no question. I am the greatest wrestler on this planet. You can have your Flairs, you can have your Bret Harts, you can even have your Vaders. But there's only one man who has the belt, and that's me, ravishing Rick Rude. Your mama's dream and your daddy's nightmare. And that cues, Sherry says, something like, under her tutelage, Rick Rude has gotten what he deserved instead of being left in the dust. Now he's the world champion, and she has proven she can bring anybody to glory. And that cues Sting's music, who comes out and says, brother, no, not brother, buddy, you're talking big and bad now, but I've whooped your butt before, and I can do it again. We can do it right now if you want. But I know WCW officials won't be happy about that. But just know, at Slamboree, I'm going to take the WCW Championship back. And along with this, I'm going to be the Unified World Champion the WCW fans can be proud of. So there's a stare down as Ventura sort of says, okay, yes, I've been, calm down, guys. We don't want to blow a big title match right now. Just send your words out after you guys, but that's it for now. And, Ventura puts over, that it's going to be a huge match at Slamboree, Rick Rude versus Sting for the Unified Championship. As this gets an 83. So good stuff. Then it's time for a complete squash as the Iron Horsemen of Arn Anderson, Barry Windham, and Steve Austin, all three that are champions, defeat the Warlord, Shane Douglas, and Iceman King Parsons in 602. When Austin pinned Warlord with a stun gun, this gets a 59. Steve Austin gets a 78. Barry Windham gets a 72. Arn Anderson gets a 76. Iceman King Parsons gets a 36. Shane Douglas gets a 47. And the Warlord gets a 52. So yeah, this is just a complete, everybody basically gets their spots in. Like Arn hits a spine buster, Wyndham hits a DDT, Austin comes in and finishes off Warlord with a stun gun. As the same thing, Barbarian's out for 3 months with an injury, so this is just going to be sort of Warlord's spot for the moment, as there's not much else to do with them. But yeah, this is just a total squash, and, they come over for promo, when all of a sudden, first, Dustin Rhodes comes out, but then out of nowhere, also Steven Rio comes out. Crowd is confused about this, and they're, they go. Rhodes goes up to um, Arnon's like, look, I don't like you. You don't like me. You've gone after my family for a decade plus. But there, you didn't get involved in business that wasn't yours before. Me and Regal, we were having a match. You don't have to like me. I don't have to like you. Hell, I don't like Regal. And Regal's like, I don't like this bloody cowboy either. But the reality is, we were having a match, and your guy Pillman got involved in our business because he's has this idea that just because he lost the Sting, he deserves to be in the main event all the time. Arn's like, look, I didn't tell him how to do that. I'm not his daddy, okay? I may look it, but I'm not his father. So if you have a problem with Pillman, you confront him. Oh, and Rico's like, I looked for Bloody him along with Ben Rowan and Eaton, but we couldn't find him. So we're coming out to find you. And then out comes Pillman, like, and this is, we're not quite full loose cannon Pillman, but we're getting there. And Pillman's like, look, this is on me. Now, it should have been me and the other horseman going after you guys, but I took it on myself to attack you because neither of you belonged in the main event. Rhodes, you're nothing but a corporate cowboy given a shot by WC officials, and Regal, who the hell are you? Ooh, heel thing. And Regal says, I'm the man who can bloody stretch around that ring right now if I wanted to. Mixed pop because it's still Regal, but it's also going after the Horseman. It's like, oh, you want to fight? You want to fight? I'll. And eventually, we like basically get everything settled down, and everybody's still arguing with each other, but like apart from each other. When all of a sudden Scott Steiner comes out, and he just comes out and just drills Austin with a clothesline out of nowhere, and that starts the actual brawl for just a moment until these officials break it up, and Regal's, Austin is, trying to go after Steiner. Pillman's going, Dustin Rhodes is going after Pillman, and everybody is quite unhappy as we go to commercials, as this gets a 72. And basically furthers, that couple storylines. So good stuff. And yeah. Then we got a quick Sergeant Slaughter promo, Sergeant Slaughter even, where he gets a quick promo saying he's sick and tired of maggots like Jacques Rougeau talking about how Quebec is the greatest nation on earth when he's not even in the country. He's walking around with a TV title. Well, Slaughter loves making little maggots like you realize who's a better wrestler. So Rougeau, give him 20 or give him the title. 69, decent promo as we sort of start a new storyline there. Honestly, like, Rougeau needed something to do, Slaughter needs something to do, and we have little jingoistic stuff, and it's not really jingoistic because, there's not going to be a US Quebec War. So there you go. 69, decent promo from Slaughter, and now it's main event time, which gets, ouch, yeah. Okay, that's unfortunate, probably going to destroy our rating, but what can you do? And they both had fantastic heat and great wrestling. Sid Vicious drew a Tsunami in 957 when the match just ended in chaos after Road Warrior Hawk and Vader became involved. So it's the finish which you think it is. Everybody gets involved and the fight is on. Let me see. Did we get killed because of the finish? Yeah, okay. Type of finish. Okay, so I said it as a sports entertainment finish. I guess this product is not like that. Oh well, should have done a double count out, not the end of the world. And then everybody just continues the fight as the show ends, which gets a 76. As the youngsters put over these two behemoths are going to just keep on fighting no matter what until somebody gets an actual victory. And yeah, the actual match was, just two guys beating the crap out of each other. Finish was two guys beating the crap out of each other, and that's basically it. Oh, shit. Okay, ignore that happened. This should have been after the Simmons, but I forgot it was there, so I created another one. Okay. See, this is why you double check things, folks. Anyway, this gets a 72. Not our best thing ever. Honestly, I should have just put it as a double count out instead of the finish that I put it, so not the end of the world there. But these things kind of happen. You just have to roll with them, unfortunately. Yeah, that's basically the show. So let's see if there's any email, and then we'll go from there after that. Let's see here. Email. Bret Hart thinks Shane. You're not. And Cactus Jack thinks Vader. Those are both true things. So storyline wise, we've got Steamboat DiBiase at a 78. We got Rockin England at a 670, which is bad versus Flamingo in Vegas, which I'll have to rename. The tag team title feuds at a 65. Flair and Bret at an 88. Rude and Cactus Jack at a 79. Steiner and Austin at a 75. Drew Slaughter starting at a 62. And Pillman, Rhodes, Regal at a 77. So fun times. Everybody's decently over. Who's hot is Sting, Wyndham, Bulldog, Flair, Austin. Who's not is nobody, which is good. So, and I'll be back in just to finish things out. I just want to see some end of month stuff. So I'll be back with that in just a second. So it's a quick little month ending thing. Just want to go over a couple things. So first, WF is doing their European tour. So they had European Rearranged Night 2, headlined by Big Bop's man defeating Jerry Lawler in a 67. Ouch. And more importantly, Hulk Hogan defeated Shawn Michaels in a 90. Ramon defeating The Undertaker in 81. And yeah, that's about it. And Rick Steiner getting another win. So they're pushing Steiner as well, which is impressive. Let's see here. Merch-wise, Flair, Sting, Bret, Bulldog, Slaughter, Rhodes, Hawk, Austin, Rhodes, DiBiase. So about who I did, like, yeah, I mean, only Cactus Jack is a little less than I thought, but he's not a great, like, guy, as far as merch anyway. And just as sort of a quick check-in, so Cactus Jack, yeah, I mean, he basically stayed even the whole time. Was there anybody else I wanted to check out for you guys? Oh yeah, Brett's at a, so yeah, Brett's at low 80s as well, so that'll be interesting to deal with. Size-wise, again, if we track our progress, we're slowly getting more over everywhere. And then we just need TV deals and other places, which we'll need to figure out on our own. But yeah, that's it for now. 2 solid Saturday nights as we continue the build up to Slamboree. But, that's it for now. So if you enjoyed this, go to give it a like. Comment below on what you're liking and not enjoying. And subscribe to your channel for lots of TW20 content like this, including my WCW 2004 series. Now heading towards Sacrifice with the main event of Booker vs. Eddie for the world title. And my MLW 2006 series, now with Fusion on Univision. And of course my WWE 2013 series, where I'm using a random number generator to give me goals, including not pushing AJ Lee and pushing Mark Henry. But that's it for now, so talk to you later, and adios.